battery.
Coming up next,
I'm going to do an experiment about electricity.
kids get creative with their classwork in their homeschool environments, and
接着往下看正常分娩妇女。
behind-the-scenes look at a company capitalizing on the e-learning boom. Stay with us. Welcome back. One of the lasting effects of the coronavirus will be how it's transformed the way we learn. The outbreak has forced a worldwide experiment in remote education as millions of children try to keep up with their studies away from the classroom. We look at the imprint the crisis has left on students and schools and also explore how it's opened the door for new models of learning to thrive. Students weren't the only ones who found closures a challenge.
We had basically a weekend to prepare.
Tom Moore is principal of a semi-private primary school in Hong Kong. It had to mobilize and plan quickly when it was announced schools would shut, and then adapt as the outbreak extended the closures. The school did already use some online learning programs, so it wasn't completely unfamiliar territory for the teachers. But one of the challenges for Moore is to bridge the work from home back into the classroom when schools eventually reopen.
It tracks data, so as a school we want to track student progress. Again, it's difficult how much support did they have when they were doing these exercises. We really have to come back to school and check to see if the data we've tracked is valuable, see how we can use that data to prepare for more targeted support when students return.
For the time being, students are left to their own devices.
There, I'm going to do an experiment about electricity.
Today we're going to do an optical experiment.
You might think that's boring, but it's actually really refreshing.
As COVID-19 continues to keep kids away from school, there's been ample debate globally about the effectiveness of remote or online learning versus traditional classroom learning. Moore says the younger the students are, the harder it can be for them to engage. But for many young ones, the novel experience and the use of multimedia in particular has produced some creative results.
This recipe is easy and yummy. I think you can do it as well.
That does allow for much more originality of, if they're doing projects, because they haven't been necessarily given extra guidance by a teacher, they might come up with something completely unique, completely original, so those outcomes have been quite good to see.
And there's no reason why that can't continue. What the outbreak has certainly done is bring online or remote learning to the forefront of the education industry. And let's say ultimately, with more children and parents becoming exposed to virtual classrooms, the more familiarized they become and the more likely they are to pay for services further down the road.